There's been so much interest with the story that you're covering about Bonang. Why do you think there's so much interest from the public about what you guys have written about her now?
First of all, I don't know if there's been an interest. I mean, the issue is still on shelves. I'll only know once the issue is off shelves to know how the issue performed, to really know how, the level of interest this issue has generated. But through other means, i.e. social networking, I think the story has indeed generated an above average interest. Look, all our stories do generate some sort of reaction from our followers on Twitter and our friends on Facebook, etc., etc. But I think that this particular one is because, if you look at Bonang's following on Twitter, she's got 237,000 followers who are very loyal to her, who adore her. So I think that if you use that sort of methodology to come to the conclusion that there's been an interest, and I think because it's Twitter and Bonang is quite big on Twitter, so I would say on Twitter there's definitely been an interest, but I can't say that generally there's been an interest. So it's way too early for that.
I don't know how it works with magazines. Can you guys run a story and put somebody on the cover without really having spoken to them?
Yes, you can. Drum is a news and entertainment magazine. If you look at your publications in front of you, already mentioned you have some newspapers. We don't seek anybody's consent, Shakes, to put them on our cover. We would prefer to, I would tell you this, as an editor, I would have really preferred to have had Bonang Mateba sit down and come and have a conversation with us. But after 2.5 weeks of trying to get her to talk to us, it became quite evident that Ms. Bonang Mateba is not really interested in talking to us because she sent to us her legal representative to 2 of the meetings that we had with them. So because we're a news magazine, we're not a cloth magazine. We're general interest magazine. So yes, we can put you, Shakes, you yourself, on cover.
Without talking to me.
if I think it's interesting enough. But what I must do as editor is to ensure that you are given right of reply, and we do that with Bonang Mateba.
The content of the story, you've mentioned that there's been a mention of things like abortion, drugs, and sex tape allegations. Without having speaking to the person that you're writing about, how do you guys get to prove that, or in fact to come out to a conclusion that what you're writing is really the truth about that subject?
Can you read the story, Sheikh?
Yes, ma'am.
There's at no point in the story do we say Bonang Mateba has had that procedure that you just mentioned. We say it's an allegation.
Yes.
And we have proof with us that a woman fitting her description. At no point do we say, in fact, on our cover, we even quote her saying, because she denies those allegations. Our angle of the story is that Bonang Mateba is actually denying this allegation. So at no point did we, Drum, ever say this. We do, however, say that there were these allegations against Ms. Bonang Mateba that was brought against her, and she denied them. Yes, it's one thing denying things between you and I, but when you bring your lawyer to actually deny it officially now. And that's the angle that we went with. We went with the angle in which she is denying these allegations. And there's no point did Drum Magazine say Ms. Bonang Mateba had that procedure that you mentioned. I'll have you know, the procedure that you have mentioned is not legal in South Africa.
Generally, Khosi, just tell me, do you think that South African celebrities understand the impact of their private lives on the public, or the interest that the people have generally about what they do with their private lives?
I don't think they do, I don't think they do, and that is very worrying, It is very worrying because I don't think that South African celebrities understand their rights. First of all, I don't think they understand their non-rights as well. When it comes to media, I don't think they understand the media's rights as well. So I think generally, there is a general misunderstanding and ignorance when it comes to media and how media works. So that's why you will find from time to time the reaction on social networks, as in, I believe on Saturday and Sunday, I believe there was quite a hullabaloo about this story, with a lot of people on Twitter apparently saying that we did a story on Ms. Bonang Mateba without her consent. And I'm thinking, first of all, first grade journalism 101, I do not need your consent, Sheikh. If I have given you a fair chance, and I can prove it in court that I really gave you a fair chance for you to reply to whatever information I'm bringing to you, I do not need your concern. We must educate the public and we must educate our celebrities that it is in their interest to really avail themselves, because what they're doing, they're leaving it up to somebody else to go and write something without really them having said something. Ideally, like I said earlier, I would have really preferred for Ms. Bonang to reveal herself.
For sure.
But as I said as well, that I really do not need her consent. As an editor, my personal preference is to sit down with Shakes and say, Shakes, this is the story. I want to know from you what
your response,
what is your response to this. Exactly. But when it becomes quite clear that Shakes is not at all interested, in fact, Shakes even sends her lawyers to come to my office and sit down with me and we talk about this. And then I present these allegations to the lawyers and then they come back with a response. What else? Maybe I should ask you, Shakes. What else do you think I could have done?
Obviously, you spoke to me. I chose not to respond, so you're gonna go ahead and do your job, right? Exactly. You have to have a magazine.
No. We're just having a conversation. You know, one media professional to another. I'm curious to know with you, and I keep on asking myself because I've checked every legal code, and spoke to other editors, internationally and locally, and we acted within legal parameters, within ethical parameters.
Sure.
We give Ms. Bonang Mateba a full-on right of reply. In fact, that entire story is Bonang Mateba's right of reply.
That's fair enough for anyone to be given a chance to respond, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
On my last question, Khosi, I'd like to know, is there any magazine whatsoever in your career as a magazine editor where we would know of some celebrities being paid to be on the covers? Does that happen? How does it work?
There is a business practice called securing exclusives, and that's just a business practice. I would not pay Shakes an amount as an editor for Shakes to not tell his story. But there is a business practice which is securing exclusives, which is basically to ensure that my story stands the maximum chance of attractiveness and of attracting readers. I need to ensure that Shakes only speaks to me. It is called securing exclusives. And with the saying that it is not a very common practice, by the way.
Okay.
I think that what has happened here, it has been grossly exaggerated by a lot of celebrities who have an exaggerated sense of importance, and then they go around throwing around numbers about how I was paid this amount and this amount. I can tell you now, the amounts that I'm hearing about are unheard of. However, yes, there is a practice which we call securing exclusives, but it is a very uncommon practice. In fact, of every 10 exclusives that you see on covers, about 1 or 2 of them might have had a monetary involvement.
So what's the most have you paid?
I can't disclose that yet.
Okay, Khosi, thank you so much for your time, all right? Hopefully, in the future, I will be on the cover of Drum Magazine as well.
I hope so, too. Now that I know you, I'll be looking out for you, okay?
Thank you so much, okay? Have a nice evening.
Okay.
Bye, Khosi.
Yes,